Hi there. Today I'm going to read one of my favorites. It's The House for Hermit Crab by Eric Carle. Okay, let's get started here. It's time to move, said Hermit Crab one day in January. I've grown too big for this shell. He had felt safe and snug in his shell, but now it was too snug. Hermit Crab stepped out of his shell and onto the ocean floor. But it was frightening out in the open sea without a shell to hide in. What if a big fish comes along and attacks me, he thought. I must find a new house soon. Early in February, Hermit Crab found just the house that he was looking for. It was a big shell and strong. He moved right in, wiggling and waggling about inside to see how it felt. It felt just right. But it looked so plain, thought the Hermit Crab. So plain. In March, Hermit Crab met some sea anemones. They swayed gently back and forth in the water. How beautiful you are, said Hermit Crab. Would one of you be willing to come and live in my house? It is so plain and it needs you. I'll come, whispered a small sea anemone. Gently, Hermit Crab picked him up with his claw and put it on his shell. Sea anemone. In April, Hermit Crab passed a flock of starfish moving slowly along the sea floor. How handsome you are, said Hermit Crab. Would one of you be willing to decorate my house? I will, signaled a little sea star. Carefully, Hermit Crab picked it up with his claw and put it on his house. Sea star. In May, Hermit Crab discovered some coral. They were hard and they didn't move. How pretty you are, said Hermit Crab. Would one of you be willing to make my house more beautiful? I would, creaked a crusty coral. Gingerly, Hermit Crab picked it up with his claw and placed it on his shell. Here's some coral. In June, Hermit Crab came up to a group of snails crawling under a rock on the ocean floor. They grazed as they went, picking up algae and bits of debris and leaving a neat path behind them. How tidy and how hard-working you are, said Hermit Crab. Would one of you be willing to come and help me clean my house? I would, offered one of the snails. Happily, Hermit Crab picked it up with his claw and placed it on his shell. Snails. In July, Hermit Crab came upon several sea urchins. They had sharp, prickly needles. How fierce you look, said Hermit Crab. Would one of you be willing to protect my house? I would, answered a spiky sea urchin. Gratefully, Hermit Crab picked it up with his claw and placed it near his shell. Sea urchins. In August, Hermit Crab and his friends wandered into a forest of seaweed. It's so dark here, thought Hermit Crab. How dim it is, murmured one of the sea anemones. How gloomy it is, whispered the starfish. How murky it is, complained the coral. I can't see, said the snail. It's like a nightmare, cried the sea urchin. Seaweed. In September, Hermit Crab spotted a school of lanternfish darting through the dark water. How bright you are, said Hermit Crab. Would one of you be willing to light up our house? I would, replied one lanternfish, and it swam over near the shell. Lanternfish. In October, Hermit Crab approached a pile of smooth pebbles. How sturdy you are, said the Hermit Crab. Would you mind if I rearranged you? Not at all, answered the pebbles. Hermit Crab picked them up one by one with his claw and built a wall around his shell. Now my house is perfect, cheered the Hermit Crab. But in November, Hermit Crab felt that his shell seemed a bit too small. Little by little, over the year, Hermit Crab had grown. Soon, he would have to find another, bigger home. But he had come to love his friends, the sea anemone, the starfish, the coral, the sea urchin, the snails, the lanternfish, and even the smooth pebbles. They've been so good to me, thought the Hermit Crab. They are like a family. How can I ever leave them? In December, a smaller hermit crab passed by. I have outgrown my shell, she said. Would you know of a place for me? I have outgrown my house too, answered the hermit crab. I must move on. You are welcome to live here, but you must promise to be good to my friends. I promise, said the little crab. The following January, Hermit Crab stepped out and the little crab moved in. Couldn't stay in that little shell forever, said Hermit Crab, and then he waved goodbye, and the ocean floor looked wider than he had remembered. But Hermit Crab was not afraid. Soon he spied the perfect house, a big empty shell, and it looked, well, a little plain. But sponges, he thought, barnacles, clownfish, sand dollars, electric eels. Oh, there are so many possibilities, and I can't wait to get started. And that is the end. Isn't that cool? When we outgrow our shells, like when we outgrow our clothes, we have to get bigger clothes. Like the hermit crab has to get a bigger shell to live in. All right, see if you can remember the different friends that hermit crab met along his way throughout the year. Okay, you guys, see you later.